Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
And my name is James. And here we go. It's been a while.
And we love Star Wars.
And we do love Star Wars. And Star Wars is a lot of fun. And speaking of Star Wars, I'm really excited for this week. You know why I'm really excited for this coming up week?
Why is
Because
that, James?
Jedi Survivor is coming out this week. And I can actually play it. I just bought myself a PS5. So pretty excited. I've been kind of bummed because I didn't have a PS5 and everybody was like Jedi Survivors, and I was like, that's cool. That's really cool. but now I am beyond pumped. Are you gonna get it? Or
If I do get it, I don't know where I'm going to find the time to play it.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. Is now that I'm an adult, it's like, man, when do I have time to play this thing? I'm gonna make time. I'm gonna find a way to play this thing because I don't know. I had so much fun playing Fallen Order that I just want to do it again. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what the next chapter is.
Yeah, Colin and Josh will definitely be playing it. They are super hyped about this game. And Josh is getting the full, like, deluxe version of it with the lightsaber and whatever else comes with it. But
Somebody
yeah,
told me those aren't going to ship until afterward. Like they're not going to arrive day of. Apparently, that's what somebody told me. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
It's all good. I was going to say, before we get started, we do definitely want to acknowledge all of our awesome support and love that we get from our patrons, especially one of these right here that just made a comment, Maka Tautala. Awesome.
What's up?
So, and it's changed up a little bit. Some people have joined, some people have upgraded. So, here is the new list. So, on the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Sean Greathouse, Zach Netzel, and Mariana Atia Arnold. On the red tier, we have Fedbeer526, Maya Morris. On the black tier, we have Maka Tautala, the aforementioned, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, Liam McCallion, and Texas Vader 76. Thank you so much for all your love and support, all your messages, all your interactions with us on Facebook, on the Facebook group, on Instagram. It's awesome to see the community come out and show the love and support that you guys have done.
I was going to say, did any of them listen to our crazy podcast you and I did the other day?
Yes. Liam. So what James is referring to is we did a Patreon podcast where James and we watched the entire Mandalorian season 3 finale, and I think we had a little technical difficulty at the end.
Yeah.
And James was like, none of this is going to be on the podcast, right? I said no, and I just left it on the podcast. And Liam McCallion, he made a comment saying, "Oh, he totally left it on the podcast."
Oh my gosh.
Well, it wasn't a lot of stuff, but
if you're on Patreon, you got to see a different side of me that day. So it was fun though.
Yeah. Getting your opinions on the finale was something that I was looking forward to, and we got it. It's on Patreon if you want to join up. I think we put it under. All you have to do is be a $5 Patreon, and you can actually see that video. So, yeah, but nevertheless, on to the news. So,
let's do it.
I think we're in consensus here, and the big news being that at Celebration, of course, during the Lucasfilm showcase, Daisy Ridley was the last person to hit the stage as the last big announcement, I believe. And we had kind of speculated that when she had her lunch at Lucasfilm, she was in talks to do something. And it makes total sense that something was afoot because she lives in the UK. I know some people have told me she has like a condo in LA, but it just seemed like it was kind of out of the ordinary and a little bit suspicious that she rejoined social media, and then she went to Lucasfilm,
and then she was telling everybody,
"Don't worry, guys,
this isn't what you're thinking. It was just a great lunch we had." And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, putting my executive cap on, I was like, it makes way too much sense to try and get Daisy Ridley back for some project, either a show or a film, because there's a lot of Rey fans. The sequel trilogy is very new. It's
Mhm.
the last thing they did as far as films. Um, Daisy Ridley is a great actress. They can continue the story and in a different timeline, in a different galaxy. George Lucas didn't stop making films in the 80s. He continued on maybe in 1987 and just had all those actors that Filoni and Favreau brought into The Mandalorian season 2, like Michael Biehn, and of
Mhm.
course, Carl Weathers. There's rumor that Jamie Lee Curtis was going to be involved. So, in continuing with maybe we should have kept on going with the Star Wars films, Lucasfilm has made the decision to keep on going because George Lucas famously kind of put a hiatus to making Star Wars films because he wanted to spend time with his adopted children and he wanted to raise a family. And that's why he stayed away from Star Wars, in case people didn't know about that. So when he came back to Star Wars, his children were kind of fully grown and he made the prequels. So that's where Lucasfilm is kind of at right now. And for so many podcasts in a row, I was like, episode X is coming. Episode X is coming. They're going to do episode 10. It's going to happen. They haven't announced that this Rey film is going to be episode 10,
Could you
but they
imagine?
did announce that the crawls are coming back outside
Thank
of
God.
Skywalker Saga films,
Like
which is
that's
something that we've been asking for in the podcast.
like how I remember when the words came up in front of Solo, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, there's no way they did this, but not the crawl." You know? And same with Rogue One, you know. Okay, so you just brought up something interesting. All right. Do you think this is a secret episode 10? Like, do you think this is Lucasfilm doing everything they can not to tell us this is going to be 10, but then when we get closer to it, it's going to be revealed this is in fact Star Wars episode 10? I mean, do you think that's a possibility?
So in the past, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm has stated the Skywalker saga is over,
Mhm.
and we're the only time we're going to see a crawl is with the Skywalker films. We're going to retire that, and we're going to retire the episodic numbers. So they have unretired the crawl,
Yes.
and they've unretired staying away from the Skywalker saga because
We're clearly
Daisy,
going.
Daisy Ridley is
Yeah.
Rey Skywalker, and
Yes.
she has connections, if not blood, interactions with Luke, Han, and Leia. So it's really the continuation. This is going to be episode 10,
This is
essentially.
episode 10. It's so obviously there's no way it's not just episode 10. I mean, everything that's going to happen in this movie is literally a continuation from episode 9, which of course is preceded by 1 through 8. You know what I mean? This is episode 10. So I'm wondering if Lucasfilm is going to announce that. Like, I wonder if that's going to be a big moment when remember how when we got the Rise of Skywalker title reveal?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they're going to do that, where they're going to show the title. It's going to say Star Wars. It's going to say something, and on the bottom, it's going to say Episode 10. And like, can you imagine that? Like the people freaking out, knowing that we're getting 10, 11, 12. I mean, it seems really strange to bring back Daisy Ridley for just one movie about the continuing of her what's it called again? The New Jedi Order, like that's what it's
Yes.
called. It's like this is a whole new franchise. It's writing itself, and if they don't take advantage of it, then I don't understand. But it
Yeah.
seems like a slam dunk to just call this episode 10.
Yeah. And putting my shareholder hat on, putting my stock board member room hat on, you want to call it episode 10 because there's a lot of built-in hype around that too,
Yes.
because it's the continuation. The public gets the Roman numeral episodic numbering, and it just kind of reintroduces Star Wars films back crazily because there's been such a long hiatus.
And it feels like now going forward, these movies are starting are for what it looks like. It looks like these movies are actually like taking their time to do. Like James Mangold talking about his Star Wars movie and what he's doing with it and how like much thought he's putting into it. And then say with I mean, Dave Filoni's is going to be amazing. We already know that. That's a slam dunk. But with Reys, it's like, okay, let's plan out 2 more movies after this. Like let's do 11 and 12. And it feels like that's what they're probably doing at Lucasfilm right now is planning the next ones because I think Kathleen Kennedy has learned, hey, this wasn't the best way to do these movies like we all thought it would be, but a lot of things happened. A lot of crazy things happened during the production of these movies. The only production that seemed to go without any problem was episode 8. Episode 8 didn't have to deal with the passing of Carrie Fisher. Episode 8 didn't have to deal with Harrison Ford, or anybody getting injured. So episode 8 looked like it was one of those that just was a smooth sailing production. So I'm wondering if they're like, okay, let's really plan these movies out and let's see what happens with it. I think we may get that.
Right. And the big rumor right now is that John Boyega may
Oh
return
my gosh.
to this film,
Yes.
which again makes total sense. Um, to me, he's a more sought after actor, but I think he would love to return to work with his friends. And he's famous for saying, I'm not going to come back unless Daisy Ridley's there, unless Oscar Isaac's there. And he continued on with JJ's there, if Kathleen Kennedy's there. And it's like, well, JJ's probably never going to return
Yeah,
or not
JJ,
return for a very long time.
I don't think he's
JJ's
gonna make
doing
another
DC
movie.
stuff now.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think James is gonna make another movie for the next 10 years. So
Which I think was a little hyperbolic on his part. He was getting a little carried away there. And then he's famous now for saying, I don't want them to Disney Plus me. And this was before Disney Plus was a
oh
thing
yeah.
and before it was super huge. And I was just like, man, don't say that, because I had a feeling Disney Plus was going to be pretty huge, and The Mandalorian became what it became. Essentially, what Star Wars is, popular Star Wars with Baby Yoda and Din Djarin. So I was like, man, that's not the best thing to say. But his kind of saving grace now is the fact that Daisy Ridley has been announced back. And I wrote on our Facebook group that it was kind of a shame, really, not to have John Boyega walk that stage with Daisy Ridley, because he is from London. It would have
Yes.
made total sense in his hometown to be announced. So maybe there's a little bit of pushback there. Maybe he's negotiating.
I
Um,
hope I hope it's negotiating because you're right. It would have been can you imagine Daisy Ridley coming on stage? Who's the Jedi Master you're asking? And she comes out and it's like, so who's gonna be your first apprentice? And then they look over and then there comes John Boy. I mean, the
yeah,
the amount of goodwill toward this movie would have just skyrocketed already. Like everybody wants to see that. We got a freaking Star Wars Lego movie that has Finn as Rey's apprentice. Like it's I know these Lego movies are not canon, but it was one of those things where I was like, look, they did it. Like it works. It works perfectly with him talking about what Rey's teachings are and everything. And I want to see that live action. And if he comes back, I know we talked about this in our Patreon episode, but yeah, if he comes back, that's $1 billion right there for Lucasfilm easily.
right. And one of the famous conversations now that people have in retrospect from this last sequel trilogy is the fact that in the marketing, we almost got the promise of Finn being a Jedi with him
Mhm.
holding the lightsaber, and then that last trailer with him going up against Kylo Ren. We didn't get that promise fulfilled, but we did get the information that he is force sensitive. So if this is a new Jedi Order, it would make so much sense for Finn to come back and to maybe be a teacher, because it is 15 years later. That's one of the details they announced. So he would be a lot more wiser. He would be a lot more skilled to see a Finn with a skill set with a saber and fighting alongside Daisy Ridley. That would be super awesome. And it's to see them 15 years into their Jedi training with a blade, Rey with the yellow blade, Finn
Mhm.
with maybe a green or blue or any color really.
Any color, yeah.
It would kind of this to me would really kind of take a certain this generation's fans, young fans, into their launch pad into the future with Star Wars with these
Mhm.
films. Um, so yeah, I'm all for it. That
Right.
would be great, and for Oscar Isaac to come back too, even if it's just like in maybe like a cameo role or something. Um, He's also said that he wouldn't come back unless he joked and he said, unless I need to buy a new house. So,
Well, I really hope he's in the market here very soon because if him coming back, all three of them coming back would be very, very good. All three of them going on another adventure would be very, very good as well. And it just seems like I just have a lot. I have a lot of hope in this, and I really hope they all come back because I'm a big fan of all three of them, and it just feels like they need to come back for this movie.
right, right.
And a part of me also with whole Finn, I blame Abrams for for getting everybody hyped up about Finn. In my opinion, I think he was trying so hard to do the whole mystery box thing that I think it backfired with that when he was like, "Oh yeah, Finn was never supposed to." You know what I mean? Like the way the movie progresses with The Force Awakens, it's like, "Oh, okay. Like why did you hype that up if you knew that wasn't going to be the big reveal for us in that movie, you know?" Um I don't know. I feel Abrams and the mystery box approach was what kind of hurt a little bit of our expectations and what we were thinking was going to happen. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, my opinion is I don't necessarily agree with that. To me, The Force Awakens was very generalized, and people will say, well, it's kind of a copy of A New Hope. But I mean, to me, it was overall, top to bottom, maybe the best um, put together film universally. It was the
Mhm.
most universally accepted. And it was a gargantuan task on his part. And I've
Oh
talked
yeah.
about it a lot with J.J. Abrams reintroducing Star Wars to the world. And of course, it was going to make a lot of money because Star Wars was back. It's been away for 10 years, um, which is almost, I mean, 4 years away from what we're going to experience in
Yeah,
2025,
exactly. Yeah,
which is
Ray's
crazy.
movie's 10 years away from Force Awakens, which is ridiculous.
Oh, that's crazy. It's making me feel old. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't really fault JJ. Um, he came back at like the 11th hour to do Rise of Skywalker and change
Mhm.
that whole script up. Um, that was just a tall order to make a great film.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's the movie business, and we're really not sure what exactly went down. But 2025 will be the year that we get the new Jedi Order film with Daisy Ridley. That's kind of the consensus opinion right now. We all know that film's been in the works since after 2022 celebration, one celebration ago, and of course Damon Lindelof was involved, and then he kind of just backed out of it. But we have a pretty good director in Charmaine Obaid Chinoy. I think she directed a couple of Miss Marvel episodes,
Yeah,
and
yes.
Miss Marvel was actually a pretty good show.
I really
Um,
liked it. I thought it was a fun show.
yeah, underrated, underwatched probably, but
Yeah.
it's I think for a Daisy Ridley led film, I think you do want a female director slash try out a female director for a female led film.
Mhm.
So that's just my opinion. I want to see that. I want to see how that kind of develops and what it becomes. And I think they do have plans for two more films and the option to make it a trilogy. If this thing hits, it's going to be a trilogy. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
and there's no way they're gonna be like, "That was it, guys. Hope you liked it." No, no,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
they know it's most likely gonna be a trilogy.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, 2025, it's going to be Ray's film. So the next thing we want to talk about is the fact that the next year, the rumor is the Filoni film is going to come out, which is the climactic event tying The Mandalorian, Skeleton Crew, Book of Boba Fett. Um, what am I missing?
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, the big one. Filoni's pet project there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's even possible unless they schedule everything so close together and maybe film because they still need to film Mando season 4. And there's not even debate if that's even happening now, which is kind of curious. Um, Maka says, "I want more Fett. I want more Fett too, but we didn't get an announcement at Celebration."
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see Boba Fett until the movie. Like, I think with the reception the show received, I think they're like, okay, we're saving him for the movie, and that's it. And unfortunately, I think, yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
And also the other thing too, so if we're gonna get a movie in 2026, it's not gonna drop in December because that's an Avatar year.
Wait, 2026 is an Avatar year?
Hmm.
There's no way they're gonna release those movies at the same time.
Let's see. So 2023 was Avatar, or
Oh,
no,
2022.
2022 was Avatar. 23 would have been Star Wars. 24 Avatar. 25 Star Wars. Yeah, 26 would be Avatar because there's like 5 Avatar sequels or something. And
So
Disney owns
Filoni,
Avatar. And
yes,
the original plan was to drop an Avatar, then drop a Star Wars, then drop an Avatar, then drop another Star Wars. So they're gonna have to drop it in May. They're gonna have to do the solo type of release schedule here.
but do it right. Get everything away from it. Let it have its moment. Let it be the big summer blockbuster movie. You
Right.
know, I if they do it that way, I think it's gonna make. I mean, it's already gonna make a lot of money because all the fans are already built into Mandalorian and everything like that. And
Yeah.
plus, all the fans we all love Dave Filoni. So yeah, if they don't crowd it like they did with Solo, I think this movie can make a lot of money. But are fans? Do you think the 6 month gap is going to be okay for that from December to May?
I think
Or 5 month actually?
it's a tough one because I know Lucasfilm Disney, the shareholders, they want this thing to drop either in it's tough to say because if the sweet spot really is 2 weeks into June because
Yeah.
everyone's off from school. That's the date when Jurassic World did a crazy amount of money,
Yes,
which
that's
I don't
right.
think anyone was expecting. But that's 2 weeks into June is when everyone's off and everyone's doing vacation stuff,
Mhm.
and that's the sweet spot. But that would be super close to 2025 December. But it's a little change of pace because it is The Mandalorian,
Yeah. And
and they will have a cycle or 2 to do
Mhm.
marketing, hopefully appropriate marketing, because they didn't do that for Solo.
They did not do that for Solo. I have a feeling that they've learned a lot, and I have a feeling if they do drop it, I think you're right. Second week of June is awesome, and that gives you a 6 month breathing room from your previous movie to now.
Yeah.
And then plus it's gotta have Grogu, it's gotta have Mando, it's gotta have Ahsoka. Like it's gonna be huge. The story that's being built around it is massive. So I think it's gonna be something pretty big. And if they just make it the movie event of the summer, I think it's gonna blow everyone away.
In Hollywood, studios plant their flags well in advance, and Lucasfilm had already done this. They did it for 2025, uh, actually 2023, 2025, and 2027, I believe.
Mhm.
So they solidified those dates in December, but then of course we got no 2023 film, so now we're on to 2025, and the Ray film is well into pre-production. We'll get that. It's just I'm questioning the whole 2026 year because you still got to shoot Mando season 4. You gotta have Ahsoka 2 probably the second season of that in the books. So it's gonna be a tough task to get all those shows, then a movie on top of that.
Mhm.
I mean, Filoni is gonna have his work cut out for him, and it's gonna be Filoni's first film, his
Feature film.
directorial debut, which I'm all for, but I don't want to spread them too thin.
Yeah, you don't want a Taylor Sheridan him after. That guy is a way like, I don't know. You could tell. But here's the thing about Ahsoka season 2. I don't think we're gonna get season 2 before the movie of Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka's gonna come out, and then I think she's gonna go away until the movie. Because it feels because like when her show would come out in 2025, but then you also have to remember Mandalorian also has to come out as well. So I can't see them filming both of those things at the exact same time. On
Well,
top
that's
of
what
that,
they just did.
but yeah, true. But then it's like then now they're also doing a movie. Now there's going to be a movie thrown in there as well, which
Right.
is Rey's movie, and then also pre-production of the big movie. If anything, I could see them doing another Skeleton Crew season 2 to get these guys more established, so that when they're in the movie, it makes more sense that we're all going to be acceptable to them. But I think with Ahsoka, I don't think we're going to see a season 2 of her until after the movie. I mean, that's just what I think. Somebody just said Sith Grogu would be awesome. What is wrong with you?
Is
That
that
would
Craig?
hurt. Is that that would hurt me if he turned evil. I'd be that would just destroy me if Grogu turns evil.
I'm glad they brought up Grogu because the other kind of rumor is the fact that Grogu might appear in that Daisy Ridley film.
That's it works, but then it doesn't work.
Right.
It works because of course Grogu would be there. It doesn't work because we know he's gonna be okay during the giant war that's gonna happen. Like nothing wrong is gonna happen with Grogu. So I don't know. It kind of just I don't know. I don't think it would work.
Yeah, and if you do the math, Grogu would be 91 years old.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with that. He'd probably be
I'm not saying
talking.
there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying he would be older. He would possibly be bigger.
Yes.
How do you pull that off? I mean, to me, he would be kind of. I mean, would you cast a person for that to be in a
No.
suit? It
No.
would all be CGI.
I think going forward, he's gonna have to be CGI. It just it like I
It's
mean
really expensive.
people were already making fun of the puppet for Mandalorian season 3. Like they're
Yeah,
like
I think the puppet's fine though.
they were just throwing that thing around, him walking on the floor. People were like, look at him walk, he looks ridiculous. Um I have a feeling for the movie he might be completely digital. And because we want to see him moving a lot quicker. We want to see him kind of moving the way Yoda was moving. And Yoda wasn't a puppet at that time. You know, they had to completely digital, do a digital Yoda for that.
Right, right.
But you're right, it would be really expensive. And would the fans be on board with it? We've already fallen in love with this puppet for the past, since 2019.
Yeah, yeah. It would be kind of a classic Star Wars thing in that there's a huge gap of unknown storytelling with Grogu if he just
Mhm.
appears at the new Jedi Order with Daisy and maybe Finn. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with that. And there's the whole like tinfoil hat thing of like Kathleen Kennedy wants Grogu in just about everything possible. So if that's the case, he's going to show up. But I mean, if it doesn't work, I mean, it doesn't work. And
I don't know. I can't stand seeing him as an adult and then the next year he's going to be a child again. You know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah,
it just seems kind of
yeah,
it just seems weird how that would play out.
yeah.
But it makes perfect sense for him to show up in her movie though. Like it makes like total sense unless Grogu becomes a full-on Mandalorian and doesn't even attempt to join the Jedi Order. You know what I mean? Like, what if he just stays with Din and gets his own armor? That's another thing. Is he gonna have armor? I want to see Grogu armor.
That would be pretty cool to see him in a Mando helmet and
Yes.
Mando armor,
Could you
and then be wielding possibly, I don't know, like a version of the dark saber because we all just saw it. Spoilers for the Mandalorian season finale, but it got crushed. So what are they going to do with that crystal inside of that hilt? Are they going to just reforge the hilt? What are they going to do with that? It's going to be another situation where it's like another huge gap in storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Or is he going to go back to Luke to grab Yoda's lightsaber? And then
That's
now
a
he
great
has
idea, James.
now he
That's
has the
pretty
grip.
good right there. That's really good.
Because because then Din could be like, then that's an excuse to see Luke Skywalker again,
Yeah.
and him to say he needs a weapon, and he could be like, okay, here you go. Because literally no one else in the galaxy could use it. You know what I mean? No one else could use this lightsaber except for Grogu. So
Yeah.
Grogu's first words, "I am Grogu," like I am Groot. No, I think his first words are going to be "This is the way." Like I don't know, it's kind of there. I think it's going to be "This is the way."
But what is his voice going to sound like?
It's going to sound weird. It's Matthew Woods and all. They're working frantically trying to figure out what this guy's voice is going to sound like. Like it's
I
because
thought you were going to say, Matthew Wood already put his name into the hat to voice Grogu.
he's already got to voice him. I mean, who knows? He might be the voice of him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just
Yeah,
kind
I
of
waved hi to Matthew Wood at Celebration in London,
nice.
and he waved back.
That's
So I was
pretty
like,
cool.
cool. Yeah, and he was next to Simon Casanetti's, and I was telling the group, I was like, man, I should have got his autograph because he was like a major part. He had a lot of lines, and it seems like he might be a big part going forward. But see, we all kind of had that cliched assumption that a lot of these actors weren't going to return or going to die, be written off. But Mercedes came back, Simon came back, we got Casca and Axe back, so they might be like mainstays now.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
So, yeah. So the next thing I think we want to talk about is the fact that Taika's film, it's still in production, and Kathleen Kennedy, right after she came off the stage from the Lucasfilm showcase, she did press, and I think specifically with comicbook.com, she spoke to them about the Taika film, and she had some very interesting words about that whole situation. She basically said we're not doing the traditional thing and trying to find people to help him. We're leaving him by himself, letting him work on his own, which is very peculiar, and that really says something about his process. And it's like, okay, well, are you kind of enforcing your will on other projects? If you say that you're going to leave Taika alone, are you not leaving other stuff alone? That's kind of an interesting thought right there. But I just saw a report today that Taika's next project that might drop might be the Akira film. So, and we all know that he has a whole bunch of projects on his plates that he's spinning. Star Wars being, I think, one of the first big announced projects. And the report came out that that was going to be announced at Celebration. It wasn't. Taika's name wasn't mentioned at all on stage. And we got the James Mangold, then we got the Filoni, and then the Obey Chinoy films. We got 3 films still, but Taika wasn't mentioned. It's almost like the Rian Johnson trilogy and the Taika film are kind of on the same shelf at Lucasfilm. And it's kind of like, is this ever going to happen? I think the Taika film is more possible than a Rian Johnson trilogy. But then again, people still ask in every interview, when's the Star Wars trilogy coming to Rian Johnson? And he says, "Oh, it's coming. I'm looking forward to working on it." So he has never said that he's not going to work on it. Kathleen Kennedy still says that's shelved, and Kathleen Kennedy also brought up the fact that Rogue Squadron is either not shelved, but still in development, not active development, but she feels like it's going to happen eventually, probably without Patty Jenkins, but it's still a thing that they talk about. So the Taika film, I mean, is it going to happen? When are we going to see? Are we going to see it this decade?
Mm.
I mean, we got the 2025, 26, and possibly 2028,
7 or
29
8.
films. Yeah. Because if James Mangold is going to make an epic, he's going to need some time to go out to Africa and shoot those scenes in Jordan and Tunisia if they're going to do a desert thing, which it feels like when you say biblical, it feels like the desert's going to be involved.
Yeah,
And
if
of
you're
course, the desert landscape is a classic thing in Star Wars.
yeah, the way he described it, it was like I was like, man, that's like Cecil B. DeMille, making the Ten Commandments, something like that, or like Ben-Hur, stuff just on that scale.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one's gonna take a while. So yeah, you're right, 27, 28, even 29, and it's just crazy to think that she still says, oh yeah, Taika's movie and Ryan Johnson's movie. It's like, are we getting this in like 2031, 32? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to think we might be getting these Star Wars movies way down the road.
Yeah. I'm gonna be in my 50s when when the Taika movie comes out.
I'm gonna be in my 40s when the Taika movie comes out. Like,
They'll be
that's
my age, James. You'll be fine.
yeah, I'll be fine. No, is it earlier how you said how you're feeling old? It was like the one that always makes me feel old is more time has passed between the prequel trilogy and now than between the original trilogy to the prequel trilogy. Like, more time
That
has
doesn't
passed
seem right.
between this gap than that gap.
You just made the whole audience, the whole listenership here feel
Yeah, that
old.
one makes sorry. That one makes
That's
me like,
terrifying.
yeah. The older I get, the
Man,
more, yeah, it's weird.
when you're a kid, time goes by so slow.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, time just disappears.
Yep.
Everything at a certain age, everything just feels like a dream.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it was real.
When I was a kid, I used to think like Back to the Future was super old. The first movie was super old. It came out so long ago. Then I looked, I was like, that was just 3 years before I was born. It's not even that big of a gap, if you know what I mean. It's like Return of the Jedi was just 5 years before I was born, which is nothing. And it's just funny, like when you're a kid, you think, oh, these movies are so old. And then it's like, actually, no, it's not, you know? So yeah, that one kind of gets me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you were an '80s kid, which I was born in the '80s, I I grew up. I was born in 1981,
Mhm.
so I do have some memories of being a kid in the '80s, experiencing films, all the classics from the '80s, mostly on like VHS.
Mhm.
But I saw someone post something on social media stating that from the '80s till now is like when you were born in the '80s and you look back on the '50s. That's the time span
No,
between.
don't, no, man,
So
don't.
to us right now, it was as if you lived in the '80s
Yeah,
and the time between decades. The '80s is now the '50s when you were in the '80s.
we're just talking about how old we are. Like, well, again, like whenever they said like if they like, which they did, they made that '90s show, and it was like that was the same gap from the '90s to the '70s when they made that '70s show. And it's like, wait, what did you just say? It's like, yeah, like the gap between the '70s and that '70s show and the '90s and that '70s show is the same as now to the '90s show. So it's a little strange. And then like what was that? Days and Confused? Like if they were to redo Days and Confused, it would be like 1990 like 8 or something. Like that's the movie would take place. And it's like, oh no, don't say that. Anyways. So yeah, we're saying all this to say like we might be in our 40s and 50s whenever we see Taika Waititi's or Ryan Johnson's Star Wars movies. So that's kind of crazy to think about.
So yeah, the Taika film's still in development, but there's no dates. So
Yeah. And his co-writer is no longer involved. She had written 1917, and then I
mm,
believe she helped Edgar Wright with Last Night in Soho, and then now it's just Taika Waititi by himself. So I don't know what happened there.
yeah, someone posted a picture on social media of Taika with Rita Ora, and Rita Ora is his girlfriend.
Mhm.
And someone put the caption, "How can he be thinking about a Star Wars film if you're with Rita Ora?"
I mean, he better deliver, because if y'all know like I'm over Taika. Like he's on the same stage as Brad Bird for me right now. So it's like you better redeem yourself.
Yikes! What has Brad Bird done recently?
He did an Incredibles 2, which was not even that great in my opinion.
Uh, it got some critical acclaim.
It
It made,
did, but it
made some
wasn't
good money.
it was no near as good as the first one. It was nothing like Ratatouille. So
Mm.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Taika Waititi or Brad Bird are about the same in my eye right now. Both disappointed me and let me down.
So another announcement we didn't get was an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 announcement.
Hmm.
And the Obi-Wan Kenobi panel was a lottery panel. So we all kind of assumed, okay, well, there's going to be some big announcement
Yeah.
since they're doing a lottery thing for it. And no, nothing. Um, Ewan McGregor has stated that he would love to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. And we've stated on the podcast essentially how to do it.
Hmm.
And Lucasfilm is just not really interested right now. I think it would be great. I think Ewan McGregor's not getting any younger. Speaking of age, he's pretty much at the same age as Alec Guinness. He's getting to that spot. Um, it'd be interesting though if you do an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. It seems like you're gonna have to age him up to look
Mhm.
like Alec Guinness,
Yeah,
even though
he's
they'd
gonna
be
have
the
to.
same age. Yeah,
Yeah, is it?
those
He's
makeups would be interesting.
yeah. Isn't he like Liam Neeson's age when he did episode one? Like he's older than Liam Neeson was when Liam
Yeah,
Neeson did episode one. But that's crazy to think about. But um, I I know this is gonna sound not popular, but I am okay not getting a season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think what the story we got was pretty good. Where it ended was pretty good. And I have, and then where we see him in Rebels, it's like, okay, this is, for me, this is pretty solid. Like, I think this is pretty good. But then again, we don't get to see the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi connection. We don't see the Obi-Wan and Yoda connection. Like, how are they communicating with each other? We don't see the Obi-Wan with the birth of the rebellion, trying to secretly get that going as well, helping out where he can. I mean, there's a lot of story, but I understand why Lucasfilm is probably not going to do that. And I'm even wearing a Kenobi shirt right now. But yeah, I think I'm okay not seeing a season 2. Very unpopular opinion, but that's me.
yeah. In the beginning, I was like, yeah, we got to get a season 2. We got to get something Obi-Wan Kenobi related. But now it's like we have these new projects, and it seems like Lucasfilm is very, very selective on what they do. So it's kind of a tough one. I would just hate to see what we saw with the original big three, them kind of age out
Hmm.
of the roles, and it was a perfect storm to get them back in the sequels and to just time it out the same years that have passed, so they didn't have to do any aging up or aging down per se. But yeah, selfishly, I want an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. I want to see Prime Vader. I want to see a concurrent storyline of they never have to meet, but Obi-Wan Kenobi could be living his life on Tatooine, communing with Qui-Gon, communing with Yoda, doing whatever else have you, the rebellion stuff like you mentioned, and then also seeing Vader in his situation with maybe hunting down the remaining Jedi and introducing new Jedi possibly, um, and seeing his struggle, his nightmares of Padme possibly. Um,
And Ahsoka, like kind of
yeah,
bringing that together, 'cause
yeah.
live action we haven't seen that. Um,
But we're probably gonna
y-
get it with the Ahsoka series
yes.
because Hayden Christensen has been cast as Darth
Mhm.
Vader in there, and I think the report is kind of widely known now that a chunk of the season might be flashback, which might all give us the thing we've been asking for on the podcast is live action Clone Wars. So that could be really, really, really great.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next few years. But then again, like you just said, there's so many projects right now that Lucasfilm is doing. So it's like,
Yeah.
man, how can they fit it in there? And then plus we know that 3 of these projects are all 4 if you count Boba Fett, but they're all heading toward a movie, you know. So it's like that's kind of the big focus right now.
Right, right. And Filoni was asked after, I think, the Ahsoka panel, and of course he's never going to answer these questions, but they still ask, how many other projects are in development at Lucasfilm? And Filoni just gave a non-answer, and he said, "Sure."
That guy.
And they're like, "Yeah, we know you can't answer, but can you give us like a ballpark of how many?" And of course, his answer was interesting. And we just gave non-answers. But man, I mean, you gotta think that there has to be a nice handful of possible projects.
Mhm.
And I think a Vader series, if you tie it with Obi-Wan, I mean, I think it could still work. I mean, like I said, you have Hayden Christensen there. His awesome reception at Celebration just kind of tells you that there is fan demand for him to be back and for us to get more Hayden. And the
Mhm.
only way to do that is to do more Vader. We're gonna get more Vader in Ahsoka, but I'm just saying. I mean, there could be something standalone. I think there's a way to do it. So I know a lot of people say, "Well, we already got a whole trilogy of Vader." Kinda. I mean, old Vader, yeah, but yeah, that's just my thought. So, of course, we're gonna get Andor season 2. That's filming, and we got a little bit of a trailer at the Lucasfilm showcase, and I don't think they released to anyone. There really wasn't much. It was a lot of like brooding and dark environments
A lot
and
of people walking.
walking, fast-paced walking, staring at the camera, staring away from the camera. Um, characters with questionable looks on their faces, people
And
preparing for stuff,
they
and
shot
that's
all that just for the trailer. Like none of that's gotta be in the show. It was just for the
yeah,
trailer.
yeah.
Just kidding.
And I brought this up before, and I think a lot of people brought this up. But no Alan Tudyk. He wasn't on stage. They brought out the entire cast essentially.
I think they're gonna just hide him. They're gonna hide him because that's gonna be a big moment when K2SO comes in. Like it's gonna be huge. So I think they
But
wanna
that's weird. That's weird. That's like showing your kid the Christmas present and saying, "Oh, we got to wrap it for Christmas, though." It's like,
yeah.
you know, it's coming, unless he's not in the show, unless the parent took the present back and got something else.
He has to be in it though.
You would figure, yeah,
He
because
has to be in it.
like we've stated in the past, every 3 episodes is going to be a year closer to Rogue One. So,
And
and it's just awesome to see Tony Gilroy talk about Star Wars, because for so many years we all thought he hated it and didn't
yep.
want to talk about it, and he seems like he's so into it. And Andor's writing is just so good. And then when Tony Gilroy went out on the Celebration live stage, he got huge applause, a huge ovation, and he was just kind of floored with like, writers never see something like this. It's like
Mm,
you can be a Hollywood writer and never come out to a live audience and get this type of ovation. And when he said writing, he got more applause, and it was just awesome to see. It was so
yeah.
great.
Thinking back on Andor, I mean that's probably my favorite Disney Plus show. It was Andor. I think that thing did way more than I thought it was gonna do. I
Yeah.
mean, I had high hopes and it just surpassed them all. And it was just awesome. The performances, the dialogue, it was just perfect.
Yeah, the monologues,
Yeah.
some of the best all time in Star Wars.
Yeah. I was like, these are so this I was like, this is I remember I was like, this is writing, this is like top notch writing and it's in Star Wars. I was like, this is
Yeah.
very, very, very cool.
So yeah, so speaking of Andor 2, speaking of returning characters, so there's been a lot of reports that Saw Gerrera is returning for Andor season 2, which to me is like another like no brain. Yeah,
That's
Forrest Whitaker is going to show back up, so it's really a non-story, but it's being reported like, oh my gosh, it's a huge revelation. No, I mean, you figure that Saw's going to have an impact going forward. He's going to get a little bit more damaged, a little bit more Vader-esque, but I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to see him back. And they
Yeah.
brought him back in season 1 for a couple of scenes, which were great. Great to see. Got to see 2 tubes. Got to see some more aliens. Got to see some of their spaceships. But and there was also a report that the quarry that they were working in got a little unstable, so they had to move out the production because rocks were falling.
Oh,
So who knows if that's going to change the story, of the script, if they're maybe going to use the volume. I mean, I think they got footage of the place, shove it in the volume, and shoot in the volume that's in England. So there's that.
Yeah. I like that they were outside for a lot of Andor, where it was an actual like
On
human made,
location.
like structures that they just digitally just added to it. Thought that was really really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Forrest Whitaker is also really, really into being in Star Wars.
Yes.
Back in, I guess, was it Orlando? That celebration, he signed autographs and he did photo ops, I believe. It shocked me that Forrest Whitaker and Felicity Jones showed up to do that. And now it's like, am I going to regret not doing the photo op and getting their signature because they might never come back? It's kind of one of those things, you know? And I mean, they traveled. I think Forrest Whitaker is American, but I know Felicity Jones, she's British. So, yeah, I don't know what her experience is with that, but hopefully they do come back. And every single person that I took a photo with and got their autograph, I told them to keep on, please, coming back to Celebration because this is where you belong. And every time I said that, they either said thanks or right on, shook my hand. Mads Mikkelsen, Andy Serkis, Rosario Dawson. I've told Ewan and Hayden that before, and I think they've now solidified themselves as coming back to Celebration, constantly. So I don't think that's really something we have to worry about. But everyone else, I told everyone that I met, I was like, hey, you keep on coming back. We want you back. So
that's cool.
I did as much as I could.
I think it's going to show. It's really going to show here very soon.
Yeah. So is it this week that we're going to get Jedi Survivor dropping?
Yep, this Friday, I believe. Yeah, we're gonna get Jedi Survivor. I heard somebody say like the download's gonna happen a day early, for it. But yeah, we're getting Jedi Survivor. I got my PS5. I am beyond excited because I really want to see the next story, and I was bummed that I wouldn't be able to, but now I will be able to. And Fallen Order was just so much fun. And I really hope this sequel lives up to that one and it surpasses it because Fallen Order was just so much fun running around and being a Jedi, you know. So I'm excited to see what they have in store for us for this one.
So are you taking time off of work to play it? No, yes.
No, why would I do that? Why would I just play it all weekend long, you know? Next time you see me, my eyes are gonna be bloodshot. And it's not for any other reason. It's because my eyes are gonna get super, super red while I'm playing the game. One time, it was a while back. My wife and I, we had just gotten married, and I just got a video game, and I was off that day. She said, "All right, I'm gonna go to work. Bye." And I was like, "Bye." And I started playing. I forget what game it was. I started playing. I played it the whole day. She came home, and I was just like, oh no. She walked in, and she's like, "Please tell me you weren't." And my eyes are all bloodshot. I'm all sitting there. I was like, "No, I wasn't sitting here all day playing this video game." But yeah, so I'm super excited. I can't wait to see what this game's gonna be. The storyline's gonna be.
Yeah, when I was younger in my marriage, my wife would come home from work and she would say, "What'd you do all day?" And I had to like really think, what did I do outside of playing Xbox?
It's like I
I went to the
exercised.
restroom.
I I wrote a paper on the importance of capitalism, and you just make up the most ridiculous thing. Oh, somebody had a question here. So, how old will Din be in the new movie? I don't. I think just however old he is plus three.
Over
I mean,
100.
I don't think Din Djarin's gonna be. Are we talking about Din Grogu or are we talking about Din Djarin now? We have to be a little more specific because.
Oh wow.
And then somebody pointed out Djarin's been his name the whole time. Din is just something like a title. You know what I mean? Or his last
Yeah, that
name.
that was an interesting naming convention that they did at the end of
Mhm.
Mando season 3 finale. Um, yeah, and people pointed to other um, peoples of Earth, how their first name is actually their last name, which gets carried on. But then the argument is, okay, well, you look at the Vizslas, there's Tar Vizslas, there's Pre Vizsla, and then you look at the Wren family. I mean, all that naming convention is the same as what we have. We have a
Mhm.
first name, we have a last name. The last name carries on. But why did Din's first name carry on? Is it because he was a foundling from another planet? How does that work? Or Din, his planet maybe had a different custom. Maybe the armor knew
Mhm.
about it, but then you think, okay, well, how did the armor know about that custom? But I mean, maybe it's something like off screen that was kind of dealt with. But I'm sure there's a reasoning for that.
Yeah, we'll find out. It was just a rather strange whenever she said Din
Yeah.
Grogu. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's gonna be my name now, Din Grogu. Here, as you can see. But yeah,
Yeah.
what else we got?
I think that's pretty much all the kind of current news that we haven't spoken about on the podcast. But I actually wanted to mention a little something about Cameron Monaghan. So he was
Mm,
at London at Star Wars Celebration Europe,
oh, nice.
and he crashed the stage, the Star Wars live stage. And we all know that Celebration was kind of sponsored by Jedi Survivor. We saw the marketing on the signage everywhere. And when you would go out in London at the bus stops, they had big Jedi Survivor movie
Wow.
poster type setups. And I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I saw people in London taking pictures on social media of double decker buses with Jedi Survivor plastered all over them.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I saw Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So yeah, I took pictures of that. Um, but yeah, Cameron Monaghan did crash the Celebration live stage with Carboni and Christina Ariel and crew, and he threw a poncho out to one of the more famous cosplayers that does Cal Kestis,
Mhm.
and he was going back and forth with one of the development guys for the video game, and it almost seemed like maybe it was a skit, maybe it was like impromptu or improv. But I think it was improv. He wasn't supposed to go out there, but he did. And I kind of learned after the fact that he actually is someone that's very, very deep into Star Wars knowledge and the lore.
Mm.
And Matt Martin said that when he was there and they were doing the performance capture of Cameron Monaghan for the video game, he would make suggestions on what they should do as opposed to what they were doing. He would conference with Matt Martin, and Matt Martin would usually say, "Yes, do that, what you're suggesting, instead of that." And that does
Mm.
make sense. So yeah, big props to Cameron Monaghan.
Nice.
He's a big Star Wars fan. And it's like, where is this Cal Kestis movie? Where is the Cal Kestis TV show? It's like the guy's ready. He's not getting any younger either. It's like,
Yeah,
come
he's not
on.
getting. Man, and I'll always be super mad that I missed him at Galaxy's Edge because he was there.
Ugh.
They had pictures of him taking because it was right when they were announcing his lightsaber there at Galaxy's Edge. So there's a picture of him in front of the Falcon, and I had just walked outside in front of Rise, and all the workers there were like, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing!" I was like, "What?" They're like, "Cameron Monaghan just walked right by. He's got to do the he's going on Rise right now." And I was like, "Cool. Can I go inside and sit?" They're like, "No." And I was like, "Oh man." want to just run in there and see him really quickly.
Yeah.
But I missed him by like a second. So
Yeah, it's really incredible when you go to Galaxy's Edge
yeah,
celebration with all these people. You miss people so easily. I
I
missed
missed
a ton of people in London.
I missed John Favreau last Friday. Uh, I was working from home, so I had to do a few things, and my wife and her sister went to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. And then she sends me a text. John Favreau just walked into the bathroom at Galaxy's Edge. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. And like there's a whole group of men like following like behind him, trying to, probably to take pictures or talk to him. And, yeah. And he was just trying to just like, I was trying to go to the bathroom, guys. Just leave me alone. And they had to like block off the bathroom so nobody would go in after him. Oh, they let
Wow.
people go in?
Yeah, they were just trying to clear out the crowd.
Oh, they're
It's like I was legitimately standing there waiting for Brooke. That's how I saw him.
all right, fair enough. But yeah, so she said, yeah, and I was like, man, if I had just been there, it would have been awesome. But
You could have peed next to John
yeah,
Favreau.
yeah, exactly. Like in my head, I'm just sitting there washing my hands, and I just look over, and I'm just like, oh, like there's no way it's John Favreau. But I probably I don't think I would have been able to say anything to him because
I
there's
thought you were gonna say there'd be no way I'd be able to pee next to him.
no, like if I like say like we're washing our hands together, like I can't say anything to him. There's nothing I could say to John Favreau that he hasn't heard 2 million times. You know what I mean? So I would just be like,
And then you're all decked out in Star Wars gear.
yeah,
You're just like
big Star Wars, am I right? Just try to have a conversation. And so yeah. And then plus that celebration, I told the story last year. I saw Kathy Kennedy walked right by me, and I was too stunned to say anything. I was just like, "What? That's not." And it was her. I was like, "Good grief!" So yeah.
I've never walked by, and she has never walked by me, Kathleen Kennedy. But at Star Wars Night last year, 2022 celebration, Ian McDermott went into Oga's Cantina with me. He left before me. We left shortly after. And then Favreau and Filoni and Sam Witwer walked right by me. And I saw them coming towards me. And they had like an entourage around them. So they had like essentially, I guess, security detail surrounding them. But in the middle, I had to focus and look to see who that, because I knew it was something, because I heard a little bit of like, I don't know,
commotion.
like light screams, like coming down the way. And I focused on one person, and that was Favreau. And I was like, whoa. And I focused on the next person, it was Filoni. And then they were walking a little briskly. And then the next person right behind them was Sam Witwer, I believe.
Wow.
And we didn't find out till later that the whole Star Wars Night thing, the reason it opened at 6, it was because they opened it earlier for media and VIPs. So actors and executives rode the rides unimpeded, no lines beforehand. And then they let all the normies in. But they all kind of stuck around still, so they were still in the park and they were kind of enjoying themselves. I know Ian McDermott had his family. Talked about this before on the podcast, but
yeah, it was
cool to see them.
It was a super crowded night. There were so many people there.
It was so short too, James.
It was so short. It was so short. Like before I realized it, I was like, "Oh, we gotta go! Like it's already time to leave tonight." And it was, I felt like it should have just been a whole day instead of just a night. And I don't know, but anyways, May 4th.
Got a lot of buttons though.
Yeah, and May 4th is next week. I'm gonna go to the park. And I'm just gonna see all the Star Wars stuff I can. See if I can buy some stuff, ride the rides, just have a Star Wars day there at Galaxy's Edge. That's what I want to do on the 4th.
Nice.
And Return of the Jedi this Friday. Also,
right, the 40th
anniversary. And yeah, so that's gonna be happening here very soon.
Yep.
Did you buy your ticket?
No. So here's the thing with that. So I did the marathon for Return of the Jedi, and I feel like I've seen it again since then on the big screen. And I mean, I've seen it so many times now. I saw it in 1997, the special edition. And I love the space battle. I love the Luke stuff. I love the Jabba stuff. I love the creature stuff. I've seen it so many times though. so many times. I've seen it an unhealthy amount. I could probably just say the dialogue before it happens before every scene. Of course, I think like a lot of people can, but and I never wore out the VHS tapes because I kept on getting newer tapes as I aged. And for some strange reason, when it would show on network TV, I would record it like it was like something I'd never seen before, and like I didn't own it before. I just wanted to see if there was any like variations in the
Mm,
broadcast compared to, and of course there was a little bit. Um, and I think the quality was a little bit better because the VHSs that came from Asia that my brother sent us were kind
mhm.
of not that great quality. But I've seen it so many times, and now in my reality right now, time is very precious, and there's
Mm.
very few and far between sections of time that I can allocate to something like that. But I mean, I say this, and I very well might show up to it. And see, the other thing too is I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and Return of the King is also playing right
Oh,
now.
that's right. Yeah.
So you could possibly do a double feature of Return of the Jedi and Return of the King.
It's a lot of return.
A lot of returning, man. Return to the theater, Return of the King.
But I got my tickets. My wife and I got to go Friday night to go watch Return of the Jedi, and I haven't seen it since '97 in theaters. So
Really?
yeah,
You never did like the marathon?
never did
No?
the marathon. So I'm pretty excited.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's just fun just to see it. It's just to hear the fanfare at the beginning, like just I don't know. It's just so fun, just so special.
Yeah. Yeah. That is special. That's also another thing that needs to come back is that 20th Century Fox fanfare.
Mm,
If I
yep.
were running Lucasfilm,
I'm throwing it back on there.
that old segment. Yeah. So, so is Return of the Jedi in a lot of theaters there in California or
In Anaheim, it's only I think it's in just like a few theaters here in Anaheim. Pretty sure in LA there's a lot more showing them, but I found one pretty close to us that has it. So
okay? Yeah, in the San Antonio area, I think it's only at 2 theaters, which
mm,
is very much of a letdown because I'll have to drive like 50 miles to get there.
jeez,
But
jeez.
yeah, I'm on a personal note, I am now driving 40% of the time back to the office for my day
Mm,
job. So that does kind of give me a little bit of leverage into after I finish my day at work on Friday, I can just go to the theater and just
there you
watch
go.
it. And
There
I
you
think
go.
it's showing on the IMAX there at the Palladium.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, go watch it,
So
man. Hear that news, hear that sound loud. I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna go to the projectionist, be like, hey, whatever your volume is, turn it up like 2% more. Okay, because I want to feel this
2%.
music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think that's all I got for this edition of the podcast.
Yes.
Is there anything else you have?
No, nothing else.
All right.
Not a lot of news. Mandalorian is over. Now it's just a countdown to Ahsoka. So here we go.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
of
gonna
course, on
be
May
it.
4th, we're going to get Vision Season 2.
That's right. Yes.
I'm
So
hyped for that. I want to see all of that. I kind of, like I said, I don't have much time, but I do want to see the first season all the way through again because there's so many good stories
yeah.
in that. And it's such a Star Wars incubator to me of ideas and
Hmm.
possibilities they can use for future TV shows and films, live action stuff, because that's what I really love. And I also want to say a huge thank you to everyone that joined us on YouTube, especially Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch for watching the pre-shows and the post-shows for the Mandalorian episodes when they aired. Big thank you to everyone that joined. James, Ted from Countdown City Geekcast, Craig joined a lot. I know I'm
Craig's
forgetting a lot of people, but yeah, it was pretty successful, and it was a lot of fun answering comments and interacting with people and speculating and prognosticating and doing all that fun stuff. So yeah, and if you definitely do want to find us, you can find us everywhere on social media, your favorite podcast app. Of course, check us out on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube right now. We might run some type of giveaway in the future on YouTube. But yeah, definitely for watching on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe. It definitely helps us get out there to everyone. Um, Helps us show up on other people's feeds. Find us on Instagram. Colin is dropping all kinds of posts about all kinds of different stuff. I know he's super hyped about Jedi Survivor.
Mhm.
So you can find us on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We're also on Twitter at Stuff Pod. Also, Patreon. We just got a couple more patrons subscribed, and I mentioned one of them who's in one of the upper tiers. Of course, you can find us at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. I never have to look at the name because it's like a it's a favorite, and I just click on it, so I never look at the name. But yeah, all you have to do is search Star Wars Stuff Podcast on Patreon, and you can find us. And our official tag is Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. And we're also on TikTok. We have an email address, starstuffpodcast@gmail.com. It's so awesome when we have listeners write into us, write what they're doing, how they found us, what their experiences with Star Wars have been, what their Star Wars lives are. And meeting some of those people in Europe was so awesome. It was so fun. I think that's one of the things that kind of motivates me and keeps me going, that yeah, people are listening. People do care about the podcast, and think that we're doing a really good job. Also, Facebook, we have a page and a group that we post a lot of memes on. I know I posted a few today for The Mandalorian. And yeah, the blockade on spoilers has been lifted, so
Yeah, so
we can
go.
talk Mando spoilers there all day, all night, 24/7. And of course, if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, 5 stars would be great. Write a review. That also helps out our algorithm there and showing up on people's feeds. And we also have a website that may soon have actual articles on it. But right now, it's kind of an information place. It talks about our bios. You can see our headshots. Stuffpodcastnetwork.com. And we also have Star Wars Stuff Gaming. We have some people that are dedicated to that outside of the normal podcast hosting. And of course, James is about to join them.
Yeah,
with his new
apparently. Yeah.
PS5.
So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you to everyone in chat here. Maka, Evan just joined, coming in right at the end. We met Evan in London.
Nice.
And I'm not quite sure how long I spoke with him, but it's such a frenzied celebration. I thought I was going to be able to see him again. So when he left, I was like, man, I didn't even take a picture with him. But I told him, I come to the States when it comes back to the States. We thought I was going to be back in 2025, but nope. So hopefully 2027.
Yeah. Or we'll all meet in Japan in 2025. We'll see what happens.
That's possible too. That's very possible. So, yep, that is it. And for James, my name is David, and may the force be with you.
Always.
This is the way.